So this is my first little song line. It's also Jarryd's first little song line. And so that makes it really, really special. And I don't want to spend too long on the intro, but it's really important that, particularly for you, Billy, whenever you're watching this, that you know who your dad is. And I just have to say he's one of the best friends I've ever had, which made this chat really easy and fun. It's also the fourth time we've done it because the other times didn't work out. But as always, he's persistent and consistent and committed, and he kept pushing me to do this because I really want to make this project a success. So yeah, here's your dad, Jarryd, a guy that has over the last decade or more helped me be a better person, not just by listening to my crazy, but mostly through example. He's lived a life that makes me want to be better, and he does that. He's not perfect, and he's been working on himself, but that's what the great people do. They work on themselves, and they're willing to look in the mirror and challenge what they see and make it better. And I admire that so much about him. He's the honorary uncle to our little girl, who adores you as well, by the way. And he genuinely is just one of the best people I've ever met. And a big part of that is his loyalty. He's very loyal. He's very honest. And he's just an all out great guy. And, this is a guy that during our lockdown in COVID decided he wanted to surf again because he didn't surf since he was younger, or hadn't surfed since he was younger. So just taught himself to surf, went out every day and just surfed until he could surf, and was rubbish but got great. And now I think anyway, he's a decent surfer. Same with jiu-jitsu, trained with me and then decided he wanted to give it a crack and just went at it. We're not going to talk about him sandbagging and choking people out on the first day, but he just sticks at stuff. He is a quiet overachiever, and you'll never see him coming. And yeah, I admire him so much. I love him so much. One of the best people I know. And the fact that he's helping me with this, and he's putting your little song line as the first thing for me to put out, that means the world to me. So Billy, here is your dad, coolest guy ever. Enjoy. Your intro will have been amazing. And then I would keep that in. And so we'll get straight into it. So I know you don't have a quote you live by or a quote you really love, but is there anything? I was thinking about this actually for you, because we've had the chat before. Is there anything that you've read that like inspires you, and obviously if there is a quote or something you want to discuss, but otherwise, is there anything that you've read that resonates with you or has kind of given you some insight or guidance, anything in particular that stands out?
There's a few books and stuff. Like I read a book called The Brain That Changes Itself, which is just about neural plasticity and how the brain can learn new things and, unlearn things and stuff like that, and how powerful it is. And, I read a book parenting wise recently, which, called 10 Things I Wish You Knew About Your Child's Mental Health, which was by Billy Garvey. And I found that just super easy to read, but I found it just, nothing was groundbreaking in it, but I found it amazing because it was so practical and simple. And so I just found it this really, awesome sort of book to, especially being a new parent, it's just like this nice little reminder of like, positive ways that you can impact your kid's life and help them, develop and grow as a little human and stuff like that.
It's cool when you get stuff like that, because you have your gut instinct, what you feel you should be doing, and obviously lots of conditioning around it. But books like that, they feed that, or they give you that assurance that what you're feeling and what your gut is telling you is the right thing to do. but
Yeah.
then gives you like a framework on how to do it, because
Yeah,
it's
it was
really
just
hard
really
otherwise
practical.
to just figure it out. And
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
funny, like this day and age, there's, I know it's still a struggle. I mean, it's really hard, but there's more information than ever about how to
Mm.
be a great parent without being way too soft or way too tough or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's so much information, especially from a kind of mental point of view. But
Yeah,
that's cool.
absolutely.
I like that question better for you, because I know quotes just, it's not a huge thing that resonates with you. But yeah, so I thought a book. I know you're a reader, so what? Next question. What do you do for fun?
For fun, I do surfing and jujitsu.
And are they both fun, or are they sometimes not fun?
No, both of them are, yeah, like super challenging. But I think that's what makes me stay interested in them, because I've done lots of things that I've, done for a while and then moved on and stuff like that. But I think surfing and jiu-jitsu have a lot of parallels where there's something that you could probably do for the rest of your life and constantly learn that entire time, because you can go from feeling like an expert or very good at it to within one wave or one roll or whatever, to feeling like a novice again. And so that constant push and pull of learning and mastering and not mastering and learning, and then, back and forth, keeps you engaged and wanting to, continue to develop and continue to do it and stuff. So yeah, they're definitely fun. Like, because I like being challenged. Like, I get bored if it's too easy.
And are they two things in particular that you would? I mean, I know you're not going to force Billy to do anything, but are they two things in particular that you would kind of love to see her do?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think they're both um able to provide, a positive impact on anybody's life, and especially hers. And I would love to see her do them, like, more from a selfish standpoint, because I like to do them with her. And I think that would be really joyful, experiencing surfing or doing jiu-jitsu with her. And I think they'd be really fun. But yeah, like, it's just up to her whether she wants to do it or not. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think she will. I think I can imagine her in a little wetty following her dad out into the surf.
Yeah, I just
Probably,
got to be
probably,
cautious.
yeah,
I'm not,
yeah.
I've been thinking about it heaps, because I'm like, I don't want to throw her into the waves too soon and terrify her, and then it just be like traumatic. And so I
Just
just want to,
dramatic.
like, let her, gradually enjoy it and, like it.
But
She
that's
seems to
also
like,
the great
she
thing
seems,
about wave pools.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Like, wave pools offer a great opportunity to introduce kids to surfing in a much more controlled environment, absolutely, which didn't exist before. So I think that is also a good point. Because yeah, like, she seems to love the water at the moment, like in the bath and all that sort of stuff. But once the bath water is all of a sudden, 10 degrees cooler, it's not as nice. So we'll find out.
And what about paying the bills? What does Billy's dad do to pay the bills?
At the moment, I work for Cars Guide, as head of production, and I've worked there for like 8 years. And then for the last 5 years, I've also had my own small business, which does like video production and editing and shooting and photography and animation and all that sort of stuff.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. And why did you want to do this for Billy?
Oh, I just think it's really beautiful. Like, I think it's nice to, something for her to look back on. And um, yeah, I think I like documenting stuff. Like, as you know, like, I love taking photos. I love capturing memories and things like that. And I think this is a form of that, for her to look back on, for me to look back on, for Kate to look back on. Yeah, and I think it's really unique and just a great opportunity to, have a little snapshot in time. So, yeah.
And what's your proudest or greatest achievement for yourself? So not obviously Billy's up there, but just for you, just for Jarryd, just for Billy's dad, what's your greatest or proudest achievement?
There's probably a couple that are all like on par. Like I think getting to play professional baseball is a really big achievement of mine because there's a lot of hard work and dedication and commitment and sacrifice and stuff like that. So getting the opportunity to do that was pretty special. And I'm really proud of that. And then also, uh, I walked the Kokoda track with, one of my best mates that I used to work with, and then also a good friend of mine, his dad. And so, yeah, we did the Kokoda Trail in 2019. And yeah, that's like a really, really proud moment as well, because it was a really hard, challenging thing, but really rewarding at the same time. So I think, yeah, those two things stand out as like really proud highlights that I've done.
We'll probably chat more as the questions unfold. I'm sure we will chat more about the baseball thing, but Kokoda, just give me like, and there's probably lots of both, but give me one of the best bits and one of the worst bits.
I think the best bits are just pushing yourself, like, because it's quite physically demanding, which then becomes like a mentally demanding task, like to keep going, and it's really grueling and stuff like that. And so I think finding out that what you're capable of, I guess, physically and mentally, and pushing and stuff like that, I think that's a really awesome thing. And for 10 days, like, you just switched off. Like, you 10 days, no phone communication, no internet, no TV, nothing, no music. Like, you're just in the middle of the jungle in Papua New Guinea, you know, miles and miles, like days and days and days walk from anywhere. So like, that's just the remoteness of it is really great. And then, the hardest thing, honestly, the hardest thing it was the food intake. Like, it was just so difficult to keep up the calories for the amount of work you were doing. And so, like, I lost a lot of weight. I lost like 10 kilos in 10 days, and I was
You were
eating,
mega skinny when you came back.
I was eating as much as I humanly could that was available to me, like, on that trip, and just was nowhere near enough. To the point where, like, I feel like my body started breaking down towards the end of it because it was just like eating itself.
What was the meal? I know there's one meal in particular that sounded delicious.
Well, in the mornings, like, because you would have like oats and milk, and they would have baked beans and things like that, and so I just combined the two, and so I just got like a big massive bowl of baked beans, and then just tipped as many raw plain oats into it as I physically could, and just like mashed them around into a big slurry, and just that's what I was eating every morning for breakfast, because that was the thing that I could get the most calories out of.
You put Oreos in it as well?
Not in the actual baked beans and oats, but they would give you these little packets of Oreos, like the little 4-packs, the mini packs, as like snacks along the way. And so you would just like wolf down, a 4-pack of Oreos, but it wouldn't even touch the sides, and you wouldn't even know that. Like, it was good, but the sugar, it just, you were depleting
It
so much.
just instantly
It
goes.
wasn't like you got any sort of boost from it. It was just like, cool, what was that?
And we could talk for hours on Kokoda, and we won't. And maybe we'll do like another song line for her down the road about that and the challenge that was, because it's a massive challenge. But just for me, on an end note, what do you do about going to the toilet? Is it all bush? I'm assuming there's no like.
So along the track, you have to just go in the bush, like just walk off the track and then go in the bush. And then each night you stop and camp in like a little village. And so in the village, each village just has like a little outhouse, which is just a hole in the ground with a little like thatch hut around it and a little door. So, you know, you
Just the
still,
long drop.
yeah, just crapping in the ground.
Nice. Moving from that, next question. Did you always want to be a parent?
No, I don't think so. Like, not from a standpoint that, well, it's weird because I probably always wanted to be a parent, but I definitely knew that early on I wasn't ready to be a parent is probably more my answer. And so, yeah, when I was younger, I definitely didn't want children then because I knew that I just, I wouldn't have been the parent that I wanted to be when I was that age. And so I just wanted to do, you know, things in my life, work on myself before I had kids. And so, yeah, I probably always eventually wanted kids is the answer. But there was definitely came a point where I was like, oh, okay, you know, I feel ready to have children, you know, from a certain point and stuff like that. So yeah, not early on because I needed to mature and develop and learn and get life experience. And yeah, you're probably never ready for kids. But I definitely felt more ready when I did have kids.
Yeah, I think anyone would agree you can never really be ready,
Yeah.
but knowing that you're in a place where if it were to happen, it's a choice, you know,
Yeah,
or at least a conscious choice and effort for that particular thing makes a big difference.
definitely.
What so Billy, was she 12 weeks yesterday? No, Sunday.
Uh, 3 months. Yeah, on Sunday.
Sunday,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it's
that so we'll
Marley's.
eighth of December. She was 3 months old because I was like, oh, Marley's born on the 8th, and then Billy's also born on the 8th. So yeah, they're just sort of 3 years and 3 months apart, I guess.
And so the question I'm going to ask for this piece is now, what's the most exciting thing about having her, which I know is probably different than pre when Kate was pregnant, but right now, like, what's the most exciting thing about having Billy?
Oh, now especially because she started to, you know, like make a lot more sounds. She smiles a lot more. She laughs a lot and stuff like that. You can see a little personality starting to just come through. And she's just learnt to roll over from like when you put her on her stomach to like roll over and flip onto her back. And so seeing her start to learn new things now and you know, quite significant things, that's been, yeah, an absolute joy. Like, it's so cool to see her develop and so quickly and learn new things. And yeah, you just think, wow, they're amazing. Like, you know, because they're just so clever and they're learning all these things so quickly. And yeah, so that's definitely the thing at the moment, just seeing them grow and develop so fast and how intelligent they are. Like, that's a really amazing thing.
And they change the way they look at you as well, even from a
Yeah.
young age, even from 3 months. Like, you can tell uh, she's looking at you. She knows you're there. She's like, if she rolls from her belly to her back, she
Yeah.
knows what she's doing, even though it's such a low level of understanding. She knows
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
she's doing.
No, for sure. Like, they're super, yeah, she's really switched on now. And you can see, like, yeah, when she looks at you and smiles, and they're starting to develop that sort of connection, which is really beautiful.
And this question probably is better pre having Billy, but now, what scares you the most about being the parent, or is there anything that scares you?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think, like, I feel comfortable with it. Like, I'm in a good headspace with it. But the thing that I fear the most is not getting it right, if that makes sense. Like, I
Yeah,
feel fine about it because I know that, you know, you're never necessarily going to get it right and you're always going to mess
no,
up. But, you know, that's opportunities to repair and model that behavior and how you can get things wrong and not be perfect and, you know, have another go. And I think that's really important to teach your kids. But that's what I think gives me the most fear is like, because I love her so much, I just want to I want to get it so right for her. And I know that I'm not, because I know I'm going to make so many mistakes and, you know, have all these things. But that's what I'm like fearful of. I'm like, I just don't want to get it wrong and like, I don't know,
Ruin her life.
damage her or cause like this, you know, like trauma or like just, you know, unintentionally and stuff like that. So that's what I'm always like, oh shit, did I look at my phone for too long instead of her? And like, you know, all these sort of things that you just worry about. And I'm sure they're just, you know, new parent things, and then it becomes other things and other things, and they just develop and grow. But that for me is what I always think about. I'm like, oh, shit, I just want to try and get it as right as possible for her.
Yeah, and the massive thing with that is that you're very open to doing it differently, and
Yeah,
so
for
that
sure.
you know, like you said, it is a huge piece of it is making mistakes and failing and trying again. And but I know you very well, and you're very open to the opportunity to do it differently if that's better, and the whatever that sacrifice is, or whatever that piece of reflection or changes within you to make it better for her, you're like, okay, well, that's what we've got to do then. So, but it's definitely a very natural thing. Like, I can't speak about having teenagers because I don't have them, but I know my big sister, you know, she's got one teenager at the minute, and your work's not done. You think you've done all of that work to kind of form them, and then they hit a new phase, and it's very different, and you have to change it up and switch it up again. And they're doing more stuff. Like right now, Marley's 3. I don't have to worry about her going out on her own and going places and doing anything else. That's a down the road fear.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's just like, is she going to fall down the stairs because she's too excited? This morning she was chasing an empty milk carton. She threw it downstairs and thought it was hilarious, and then ran after it. And then like, I'm just watching her, and she slipped. And she's like, whoops, go slow. So I was like, okay, don't say anything, let her figure it out. But yeah, in your head, you're like, she's definitely going to stack it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's how has being a parent helped you grow, or is there anything in particular it's helped you let go of?
Yeah, I think for me, it's definitely allowed me to just let go of a bit of control, bit of order, bit of routine, stuff like that. You know, I love a clean house, love a little bit of a tidy, you know, tidy life, and more from the. I know everyone will laugh at this, but I had this conversation with Kate the other day. I like a tidy house because for me, a tidy life allows my mind to be clear and tidy. Do you know what I mean?
And of, they complement each other.
If it's messy and stuff, like my brain feels messy and I can't concentrate and things like that. And so, you know, that's where some of it comes from. But definitely for me, you know, having Billie now, it's just, you know, you get other priorities where it's like, she's the priority, keeping her happy and healthy and fed and looked after and all those things. So it's just allowed me to go, it's all good. You know, sometimes you're going to go to jiu-jitsu or plan to go to jiu-jitsu, and 2 minutes before something happens with Billie, and then you're not going to jiu-jitsu. And before that would have, you know, I would have had a toddler meltdown and, you know, 2 days of carnage. But, you know, now it's just helped me just go, it's all good. Things don't go to plan. Stuff messes up, you know, things that worked yesterday, you do them again today the exact same way, and you get the opposite result, and that's okay. So yeah, it's just allowed me to relax a little bit into that chaos and accept, that you're not in control and you're just kind of on this wild ride, and you've got to, you know, ride it a little bit and use it to your advantage. But it's just helped me let go of that control factor for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, obviously, I'm very similar to you, and I see people run around after their kids and literally try and tidy up as they go. Like, they're literally just following them around, tidying up. And then, like, I look at our TV, and there's just handprints all over it. And they're not just a handprint; it's a handprint with banana on it or whatever it might be. And I just think I keep telling myself, and it is a bit cliche, but I think because it's true, I keep telling myself, one day I'm going to be watching a TV that's crystal clear, and there's going to be no handprints on it. There's going to be no tiny handprints on the glass, no tiny handprints, you know, on the walls, and all of those things that I could stress about are going to be gone. I don't want to lose that moment now. And I remember And one thing that stuck with me that I was really grateful for, especially now with Marley training, um, this was like ages ago when I first started jiu-jitsu. The professor, there was some kids up there, some young kids, and they were really noisy. Like they were having the wild time. They weren't kicking off. They were just having the best fun ever. And it was really loud. And people were rolling. And the mum came up and apologized and said, "I'm really sorry. I'm trying to control them. I'm going to take them outside." And he said, and I was like rolling right next to them. And he was like, no, leave them in here. Please leave them in here. And rather than saying it to her at the end of the class, he was like, just for everybody to understand that the kids know not to come on the mat and everything else, but that noise is the music of our gym. That noise is the music of our family. And that's how we run it. And that, I didn't have, obviously, Marley then, but now having Marley, when she's screaming, it's different. But when she's loud and she's playing and she's doing stuff, I just think, man, that's just the soundtrack of my life. And
Yeah.
I'm only going to be able to relive it one day. So right now, I'm just going to be in it, you know?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I definitely miss a house that's organized.
For sure.
Has having Billy changed your idea around being a parent, the idea of parenting, or your method of parenting? Do you think you'd do it differently than you maybe envisaged?
Think so. Like, I think it's just made me, like, as I said, a little bit more adaptable. But I think in a good way. Like, I don't think it's changed my method of parenting or anything like that. Like, Kate and I are still, so far sticking to what we've wanted to do with her. But I think it's not about sticking to something. It's almost like having a concept, I guess, or a methodology. And then just, I think you need to meet the kid like where they're at, because they're their own personality.
Yeah.
They're going to develop their own, habits and mannerisms and stuff. And if you try and force them into like a mold or what you want them to be, or even we've had this discussion a lot as well, like as a parent, and I think there's a level, but you're kind of like, this is what I want because it's convenient for me. And so therefore you're trying to force your kid to sleep at this time or do that and whatever. Like, if your kid doesn't want to do that because of their personality, or they're at a certain stage in their development and things like that, I think that can be really harmful, like forcing them to be at a certain progression too early. And so I think it's about both. It's about sort of meeting that child halfway and understanding where they're at, and also helping them come into your life because it's brand new for them too, so they've got to learn as well as you've got to learn. And so I think understanding from an early age that being a parent is not this authoritarian thing. Like, there's levels to that, I guess, because sometimes you've got to say no or yes or whatever, but it's also a dance of I'm learning you and they're learning you. And, you need to be willing to have that dance with them. And I think that's how you build like a healthy connection and attachment. Whether the other way, I think you get a lot of resistance, and then, it can be difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I saw a thing the other day. It's probably a progression that I'm making at the minute, which was about meeting people, and in particular children, but meeting people as well, like where they're at, meeting them where they're at, and being able to have a relationship with them where they're at, because they're going to be doing their own stuff. And even like with Billy, with Marley, like we're going to guide them, we're going to help them. Hopefully little things like this help. But essentially, we got to meet them where they're at, rather than try and wait to meet them when they meet what we want them to be.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then maybe they never get there, and you end up, with this fractured relationship, which I think is quite common, because I think parenting now is very different than parenting like when we were kids, when our parents were kids, all the way back.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, give us a story about young Jarryd. Let's see. Billy wants to hear about young Jarryd. I know the story I want to hear. It's a story I never get tired of hearing. but you pick it.
What story do we want to tell? Yeah, when I was little, like, well, I'm not that little, but like when I was like 12,
26.
I know, I was about 12. Yeah, I had super long hair, like down past my shoulders, and I had it for a long time, and I loved it, and I wish I still had it.
but what did you do with that hair?
Oh, no. Well, you'll claim that I modeled, but I definitely didn't
Why don't
model.
you explain what happened, and then people can judge for themselves, and Billy can judge for herself whether you were a child star.
I was definitely not a child star, but family friends of ours, their daughter, who was probably like 18 at the time or just finished high school or something like that. She might have even been younger. Maybe she's older. Anyway, she used to babysit Campbell and I. She'd just done like a photography course after school and so needed like a portfolio or whatever so that she could, get jobs and things like that. And so she asked Campbell and I to be her subjects. And
It's a
so,
good choice of words.
yeah, so, she made us dress up in our finest Hawaiian shirts and, wetsuits with bodyboards, and all these different sort of themes. And she took professional photos of us, and yeah, they're floating around somewhere, but I do my best to make sure they don't get out too often.
And is that the only time that you were a subject, or were there other times when perhaps you were a subject?
One time I auditioned for a TV commercial, and they said that they liked me and that I'd gotten the gig, but because back then long hair wasn't cool, as it is today. And so, yeah, they just said, yep, we love him. You just got to cut his hair short and he can be in the commercial. And so mum told me, and I said, well, I'm not doing the commercial because I'm not cutting my hair.
So you threw away your chance at Hollywood to keep
Yeah,
the
it could have
mullet.
been.
That's
Yeah.
that's the Aussie way. That changed for nobody.
So
What's
yeah, kept my long hair.
that picture with the like faux family picture with you and Campbell, where the
Yeah.
fella's got you in a headlock? What was that picture for? Because I feel like that might have been another subject, or maybe we
No.
say
That was.
modeling.
I'll send you the actual full photo after this if you want. But no, that was the actual photo is like a family photo, and it's me, Campbell, mum, my auntie, like my mum's sister, and her two kids. And we'd gone out to, I think we went to like Madame Tussauds or something like that. And so, yeah, it was like us standing in front of one of the wax figurines. So
Okay,
yeah,
I thought it was just another modeling shot because there's
no,
so
it
many of them.
wasn't
It's
a
hard
modeling
to
shot.
pick it out. Well, Billy, if you're watching, you decide whether your dad was a child star, child model. I would stay adamant to the fact that he definitely was. And he definitely has those pictures posing with, think of the little bodyboard, the little boogie board, and a
Yeah.
mullet. So he definitely will show you them, and you can put them on your phone screensaver when you're older. But yeah, your dad was a star. What about one of your fondest memories from, I guess, childhood or childhood into adulthood? What's one of your fondest memories?
I think just when I was a kid, my grandma used to have a caravan down in Shell Harbour, and mum used to take my brother and I and my cousin down to Shell Harbour, and we'd just stay down there the entire like 6 weeks of the Christmas holidays, and we'd surf and get up to mischief and ride our bikes and do a whole bunch of stuff. And for me, that was just a really fond memory as a kid, spending summers down there and having fun and hanging out and stuff, and made a lot of friends and things like that. So yeah, that
It
was
is a
something
beautiful place.
yeah, it's just Shell Harbour still to this day is really beautiful, and it's just a nice area. And so getting to spend so much time there as a kid, and it was obviously very quiet, a lot quieter than it is now back then. So yeah.
Me and B were talking about it the other day, like when you travel when you're a kid, particularly summer holidays, and obviously you're a kid, meet anyone and everyone, and you make
Mm.
some of literally like in that moment, in that pocket of time, like the best mates you could ever have,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
getting up to trouble
definitely.
together, and you're doing a bunch of stuff together, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm going to their place, they're coming to my place, and then you shoot off somewhere else, and just
yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff you did as a kid. That is, it's weird. I said I don't ever really think about it, but then you think, man, I wonder like what happened to all those people I was mates with, but just for
yeah,
that pocket of time, and
yeah,
especially for you going back to the same place, you would be probably seeing the same people sometimes,
yeah,
and so those
definitely.
friendships grow. But then literally you get to an age where you don't do that holiday anymore, and you just scatter.
Yeah.
Crazy time. I do remember one story you told me about the time down at the caravan, but I don't want to put Campbell on blast too much. But Billy, if you want to hear a funny story, ask your dad about throwing rocks into one of the pools there. And that's a cool story, but I don't want to put it out there because I don't want to upset Campbell. But Billy, that's one for you to ask your dad about. I love that story.
It's very
All right,
funny.
so now kind of moving into, I guess, what is the little song line, the more towards guidance, I guess, and advice for Billy as she grows. What's the best advice, or one of the best pieces of advice you ever got?
I think for me, two bits of advice that I got were around just listening to people. So one of my baseball coaches told me that yeah, throughout your career or throughout life, you'll get given a lot of advice, or people will give you their opinions and stuff like that. And he just said not to ever, uh, I guess not don't like reject that advice. Like don't not listen because you think it won't serve you or it's not useful and things like that, because you never know what people are going to say. And so just listen to them, like just, allow them to give you their advice or their opinion or what they think. And you don't have to reject it, because it's your job to then go, none of that was useful. Sweet. It just passes by you. No harm done. But you also might just take just a little bit of what they spoke about and use that. And then the other parts of it you can ignore and things like that. So yeah, he just gave me that advice to listen and sift through, the little bits of things that people give you throughout life, and pick what you want to use and just let go of what you don't. And so, yeah, I just try and always do that, like listen to what people have to say, and um, accept, their opinions, their influence, their advice. And if it's useful to me, great. Like I take it on board. If part of it is useful, I'll just use that little bit. The rest of it, no problem. Yeah, so I just try and do that a lot and listen and take on board what serves me, and just let the rest go by. Because I think it's easy if you know someone based on their reputation or they've said stuff to you before, it's easy to just shut off and go, oh, I'm not going to listen because they've given me advice before, and what they do or what they say always is crap. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to just always listen and then take what's useful and get rid of what's not. And that's on you rather than, having them give you advice. So,
Yeah, that's great advice. I think that's the more you apply that to life, and obviously talking to you about this 12 times now, trying to get this right, I think about that, and it's a pretty common thing to assume we know what someone's going to say and how the end of the conversation is going to go. So we just kind of write it off straight away. But like you say, it's just a little bit of time to listen. And really, if you don't store it, it takes up no space in the bank. So
yeah.
who cares?
And
Like you never know what's going to come out.
what I've found with that method, if you like, is that I've also found heaps of times I listen to what someone has to say, and at the time it's not useful to me, and I'm like, whatever. Like I'll never,
Yeah.
I'll never use this, or that's stupid even. And then it might be a week later, it might be months later, sometimes like years later, and something will happen, or I'll be at a different stage in my life, or something will come up, and I'll remember what that person told me, and it's actually really relevant, or it helps me make a better decision or understand something, because I remember what they said. And so I think if I just tuned out from that, then I never would have been able to have that perspective or use it later on. And so, yeah, because you go through stages in life. And so something that's useful to you now might not be useful to you, in 5 years' time, and vice versa. Something that's useful to you, or not useful to you now will then be useful to you in a couple of years' time. So I think, yeah, just listen to people, take what they have to say on board, and be open to things, really.
And the follow on from that, the question would be, what's the best advice you've ever given? And I know you're not big on giving advice, so I guess that's a great piece of advice you've just given. But is there anything else that you think is your standard
I
best
don't know if
advice?
I've given anyone ever good. I hope I have, but I don't really give people advice. Well, I probably do, and people are like, oh my god, you try and tell people what to do all the time. But
yeah, maybe we should ask Kate.
Yeah, she'll tell you give advice all the time.
You've given me advice over the years.
But I don't really have any I don't have these wise words of wisdom. You know what I mean? And I think
chucking pearls at people.
Yeah, that's not me. I just can't do that, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. You know what I mean? So I try and I say this a lot. I think I don't know where I write it down, but I try and that's where I wrote it. Rather than give people advice, I like to live a life that is authentic. That living inspires people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the talking for you.
Yeah, I don't like to give people these because I don't have them, these little one-liners and these wisdom things that people are, oh, yes, thank you, you've changed my life. Because I don't feel comfortable and I don't think I can do that. And so I prefer to just kind of live a authentic life that is true to myself and my happiness and having fun and joy and things like that. And hopefully other people viewing that inspires them to go, oh yeah, you know what? You should give things a go, or take risks, or, take new opportunities and challenge yourself, or do something hard and things like that. So that's more my advice giving. And I know last time we spoke, I said, not that I give this advice, but the best advice also that I ever got was about to be great at stuff in life, anything in life. One of the key things is overcoming the boredom of repetition. And in a nutshell, if you want to succeed at something, often succeeding at something means doing something over and over and over again to excel at it. And often that's boring. And so if you can get to a place mentally that you know that this is going to be a grind, it's hard work, and it's probably at times going to be something that I don't want to do because it's just so mundane. But if you can overcome that, however you do it, whether you make it fun or whatever it is that is going to motivate you, then that's often how you'll reach success. So that was another thing that also came up.
Yeah, I like that one. I think it's like, what's wrong with being bored? We constantly need entertainment. What's wrong with being bored? If you're doing that thing and that thing gets you to where you need to be, yes, it's boring, but it's getting you to where you need to be. So just get on with it. But I think it's hard for people these days. I think these days, especially, we've got so many outlets for escapism or outlets for distraction that being bored is a bit of a superpower. It's like being alone. There's superpowers out there that people just are like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's uncomfortable. And it's like, yeah, but you don't get to somewhere great by being comfortable all the time. Could be uncomfortable staying where you are, even if it's not happy. It can be comfortable being unhappy. A lot of people are,
Yeah.
What about some advice, if we're talking about specifically for Billie now? What's some advice you would give her on starting out? And I use that as a kind of an open phrase for starting anything, or starting out in life or relationships or anything, just starting something. What's good advice that you'd give her for starting out?
I think for me, it's just don't delay it. Just start. I know that sounds like, well, obviously you're starting out, but you just jump in and have a go. Don't wait, I guess, is my advice is don't wait for things to be perfect. Don't wait till the fear's gone. Don't wait till you feel nice and comfortable and everything's in its place. Like, just have a go and figure it out as you go along. That's my advice for starting out, is the opportunity cost for waiting and feeling more comfortable, not as scared, waiting till everything's perfect so that you're going to succeed. And that for me is what I wish I probably did more when I was younger, is the opportunity cost for waiting is greater than if you just dive in, have a go, and make mistakes and figure it out. Because the learning that you get, the development that you get, the resilience that you build from making mistakes, problem solving as you go, figuring things out, that far outweighs delaying it and sort of ensuring that you're going to succeed because you figured it all out, or you think you figured it out, and then having a go. So I think just start as soon as possible. Just give things a crack. Don't worry about failing, because if you do, you just try again a different way, problem solve, things like that.
Yeah, nice. And so that ties in well with the next piece, which is, you've kind of answered, but advice on failing, or in particular rejection, because I think that's one of the hardest things. You can love something, you can do it, and you can fail at it. And if it's, I think often if it's a passion, you will find your way back to it. But what about advice for, in particular, rejection?
Yeah, I think it's an inevitable in life that you're going to get rejected, or that you're going to fail. And I think it's one of life's beauties. And that's very hard to see, especially when you're young. And so I think it's about understanding, or at least learning, which you only get through trying, failing, or being rejected, and then trying again. So that's why it's hard. That's why it's one of the hardest things in life. And so I think it's just about learning that you're going to get rejected, you're going to fail, but that's okay. And it's one of the beautiful parts of life, because it builds resilience. It teaches you that you can have a go, and something might hurt because you get disappointed or rejected, or you might feel embarrassed, and that's fine. You're allowed to feel all of those things, but feel them and know that it doesn't really hurt you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're okay. Like, you can get rejected, and then you just dust yourself off and you try again, and you become stronger from that. And so I think understanding that, which again can only happen through experience, is a really, really powerful thing. So don't be afraid of rejection. You will be afraid of rejection, so it's hard saying don't, but just know that you can do it, and you're going to be safe. Like, even if you fail or get rejected, it's a safe space. And you'll just go again, and you'll be more resilient and learn from it, and it just makes you stronger in the long run.
Yeah, nice. And sometimes that rejection is a test. Sometimes it is a life, or whatever you want to call it, life, the universe, whatever, testing you and saying, well, do you really want this? And there's going to be times where you try again and fail again, and just keep trying and failing again. I know that from trying to do this and doing 24 different videos with you.
That's right.
What about advice for loving yourself? So for Billie, what's some advice you'd give her for loving herself?
I think it's one of the most important things in life is loving yourself, because not until you love yourself are you then able to fully love other people, or other things. And so I think it's also one of the hardest things, because you're so self-critical. You know what I mean? I think that unfortunately is pushed upon us, just through society and expectation and things like that. And so I think learning to love yourself is really difficult, but also something that you should put the most effort into, because once you are fully content and happy and accepting and loving of yourself physically, mentally, and truly, like, entirely, I think then you're able to go out and make positive impacts on other people and love other things and other people. And so, yeah, it's something that I think will forever be something that you need to work on, but it's also, I think, the thing that you should put nearly the most effort into, because it's such a crucial part that then flows on to other areas of your life.
What about loving someone else? You sort of mentioned there, obviously, loving someone else is quite heavily reliant on how much you love yourself, or, you know, the care and the love that you give yourself. But what about advice for Billie on loving somebody else?
Well, I think once you love yourself, then you can love someone else wholeheartedly. And I think that's how you should love someone else. If you're going to show someone else love and, you know, care and affection and things like that, I think you should do it with 100% commitment, because I think then that's when you feel, you know, the beauty and the fullness of actually loving someone else, because part of that is almost being vulnerable enough to give a little bit of yourself away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's scary, because especially once you love yourself completely, that's special to you.
Yeah, you want to protect yourself even more.
Yeah, and so you're like, I don't want this to be damaged or hurt. And so then you've got to truly love someone else, you've got to give a little bit of that to that person. And you should do that, because it's the most amazing feeling in the world, and it's truly, truly special. Like, it's amazing. And you want to love hard and love deeply. Like, don't do it like you shouldn't do anything in life. You shouldn't do anything in like by halves, but especially loving someone else, you should do it wholeheartedly and fully, like just dive right in. But that's terrifying, because to do that, you have to put yourself and expose yourself, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which then also means that you have the potential to be hurt. And so, yeah, it's an amazing thing, but it's complex.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Again, it's you know, it's good lessons in life. Even if I'm obviously older than you, but even now, like, yeah, just a bit. But even now, like, I had this chat with B the other day, and a lack of vulnerability. Like, I can only talk about my own circumstance, but a lack of vulnerability, the other person, whichever's the catalyst, the other person will mirror that. Someone can't give themselves to you in any way and every way they want to, unless you're trying to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And figuring it out together. And because if one of you is holding back, the other one naturally will hold back, and you might not realize that. And I think a lot of people, you know, I look at relationships, and, you know, you don't want to analyze them too much, but it helps to study a little bit. And I look at relationships, and I think, well, there's relationships that I guess I would put a more, maybe I'd say traditional, just from, you know, growing up here or whatever else. I look at more traditional relationships, and I think it's quite rare to have people in that space where they are just that vulnerable with each other, that it's like all in. And I think it's great to see that. And I think that gets lost as well. Like, I think now, again, like we said, with children, and like how you are with Billie, and you and Kate, how you manage that as a team, we're so much, or we're becoming more open and more aware of how we can do things differently, and how we can say, right, okay, I just have to carve out a little piece of myself here. And so I like that. I like that advice. It's totally true. And we can try and do it lots of different ways. But the reality is, if you're not carving off a bit of yourself and hoping that you can swap with that other person, you'll feel a bit hollow sometimes, but that's the joy of it, right? That's the ride.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, that's why the best relationships are really hard work, and they evolve over time, and they have to evolve, because if they don't work. And so it's about giving and taking and changing and growing and accepting influence and giving influence like forever. It's this constant, dance and evolution, and you need to be willing to go on that long, long ride together.
Just like you said, once you get to a point where you're content with yourself or happy with yourself or loving yourself, you're way more capable to give and to do all that. But there's also a piece of you that's like cautious now. I've worked really hard to get here. I'm really cautious now of actually giving that away. And that's the next question is, what advice would you give Billie for having a broken heart?
Yeah, look, I think that's hard. It's just, it probably won't feel like it in the moment, but it's just knowing that, you're resilient and you're capable. And because you've done the work to love yourself, it will take time, but you will repair that part of yourself that is broken, and your heart that is broken. But you will get back, to where you were before. And if anything, in a better place and a stronger place, because it comes back full circle to that whole thing about rejection, failure. This is probably that ultimate, like in terms of feeling it. And so, yeah, just knowing that you're loved by lots of people, you've got support, but allow yourself to feel those feelings, talk about them when you feel ready, lean on the support people around you, go through the grief, and just allow yourself time to recover, but know that you will, you will be stronger and better on the other side of it.
And not particularly, it doesn't have to be, people and broken hearts, but for you, what's one of the toughest times or toughest things you've had to go through?
I think for me, like definitely going through my mum and dad's divorce, like that was just, it was really messy and it just dragged out a lot. And Campbell and I were at this sort of age where it was really tough, and I was going overseas for baseball and stuff. So yeah, that whole situation with mum and dad getting divorced and just that learning to live in a broken family, I guess. Yeah, that was probably the toughest thing that I've ever had to go through.
And it's hard in that case because generationally, those things take a long time to heal.
A big time.
Like,
yeah, it took a lot of work.
And some never heal.
Yeah.
But if they do heal, it usually takes a long time, and the ripple effect from that is unfortunately
massive,
really quite strong.
Yeah, huge.
What about a mistake that you made that you think Billie could learn from?
Made lots of mistakes. But I think, look, for me, the one that I think I'd love for her to learn from is similar to what we were talking about before, where I was scared of failing because it would be embarrassing, or people would judge me because I wasn't successful or good enough. And so I think that fear definitely came from wanting people, or I wanted the perception that I had it all figured out and I was successful, because I was scared that, I don't know, like people wouldn't like me if I wasn't successful or I wasn't good at things and stuff like that. And so it didn't stop me from trying things, but it often delayed me from starting them, because I wanted to know if I was going to start something, I was going to be semi-good at it, so that people were then like, oh, he's good at that. That's awesome. Like, whatever. And so, yeah, I often didn't start things until I knew that I was going to be okay at them. And so that's definitely something I'd like her to learn from, in that, like I said at the start with starting out, is, just begin and don't worry about failing or what people will think of you if you don't succeed the first time or you're not very good at something. Like, the biggest thing for me, and I'm still trying to get over this now, is don't afraid to be silly or look silly. And that's a big thing for me. And I'm still trying to get better at it. And I hope that now Billie's around, it encourages me to be silly with her and look silly and try things. And it doesn't matter because we're having a go. Because that's definitely something for me as a young person. I was afraid of looking silly doing something because I would be embarrassed, because people would laugh at me. And so, yeah, I just wanted to know that that doesn't matter, because it's that whole, and I think we spoke about this, that quote, I'm not sure who it's from, but about, the whole man in the arena thing. And, it's
Teddy Roosevelt, I think.
Yeah, like it's about just having a go, because those that are going to judge you are the ones that will never stand in that ring and have a go. And so therefore their opinions mean nothing. And so, yeah, I think that's what I wish I would have, I would have known earlier on, and just had a crack at things and not been afraid to look silly and just given it a go. So I just encourage her to just be proud, have a go, see what happens, and, I'll be there supporting her. So
It's funny, like, I guess things that come up that are relevant to your situation as your situation changes and environment changes. Like for me, I feel like that's just the best, I think some of the best advice, if not the best piece of advice, because I feel like I'm pretty silly with Marley. Like I feel like when I'm with her and we're wherever we are, I'm done with her. I don't care if it makes her laugh, I'll do it. I don't care. I don't care at all. But what's weird is being back here now. So like we've, been in the UK for 2 weeks. The environment and my, who I was here, the image I had here in my mind of what other people would see impacts that. And so my ability to be silly with her, feel a weight that I'm like, and I honestly think generationally, maybe not, but I think there are a lot of people, I say my age, our age, within that bracket, who get told by parents, whoever else, maybe like, stop being silly, and you get shut down a lot on a lot of different things. And you're not necessarily allowed to just play out your feelings a lot. And don't get me wrong, I'm not, I'm not saying that you should be allowed to just whatever, and we should all be just feelings, but it's a big part of it. And being back here, I feel a different kind of restriction that I put on myself, on how I am with Marley, and I am so cognizant of that. I'm so aware of that, and I hate it. And I'm like, no, like I still have to dance with her. I still have to do stupid stuff with her, and I still have to not care about any of that as a reflection of me. I only have to care about the look on her face, or the confidence she feels standing up there with me to do that. Because other than that, literally no one else's opinion matters. Like it's just her.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about regrets? Do you have any regrets?
I don't think so. Like I think for me, there's lots of things that, sure, in hindsight, I might have done them differently, or made different decisions. Absolutely. And I think you're always going to have that sort of stuff, but I never look at them as regrets, because I'm so grateful for the person that I am now and the position that I'm in. And I always feel if I hadn't have made those mistakes or done things the way that I did them, I wouldn't have learnt from them, developed, grown, got resilience from doing them. And so I wouldn't be the person that I am now. And so I don't regret it, because it's kind of like, well, then I wouldn't be the person I am now if I wished I wouldn't have done those things. And so, sure, in hindsight, you're like, oh, probably could have done that differently or handled this better or whatever. But they're mistakes, and you're always going to make mistakes, because no one's perfect. And that's the beauty of life, is being imperfect and making those mistakes. And they're not regrets. It's just part of your story. And your story, everyone has one. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because everyone's story makes them unique and makes them who they are. and that should never be wished away.
Nice. I've changed up a little bit at the end. Not really, but it gets a little deeper. But I guess the more shallow piece, the first question is, what's something that makes the world a better place that is absolutely free?
Oh, for me, just being kind to other people and smiling. Like, I think they're two beautiful things that are free. You can do them forever, and it's not a lot of effort, but yeah, just being kind to other people, no matter how they treat you, or what they do, just always be kind, because you don't know their story, you don't know what they're going through, you don't know their day. So just be kind, give them a smile, and yeah, you're always in control of how you react to people and things. So just always be kind. And sometimes it's hard. I'm not saying that's always easy, but just just be kind to people and always smile, because people love smiles. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. You smile at someone, you can be a complete stranger, they're going to smile back at you most of the time.
Yeah, it can definitely completely change an interaction, even just a brief one. It can just definitely change an interaction. It can also drive people mad sometimes. If they're really mad and you smile at them, sometimes it gets worse. But either way, show kindness. I love that. So the next piece is a little more life and death. It's a little deeper in some aspects, but it's funny. Again, life. I had this chat last night with Dave, my stepdad. We had this chat last night. Someone close to him, a friend he's had for a very, very long time, is very ill, and they're not going to be around for a lot longer. And I guess what I want to know first, or what I hope you can summarize for Billie, is, according to you, what is life's purpose? It doesn't have to be mega deep, but just
no, for sure.
What would you say is, life's purpose?
I think life's purpose to me is just about living an authentic life that is true to you and yourself, and just living that out, because that'll change and evolve over time. But if you're just every day trying to live an authentic life that brings you joy and happiness, and you love the people around you, like that to me is the purpose of life. Because yes, that's super simple, but I think living it authentically and loving the people around you has this monumental impact to everyone else that comes in contact with that inspires them to do the same, or gives them a little bit of, joy, or whatever that is. And so I think everyone's purpose is different, but at its core, everyone is living an authentic life that is true to what makes them happy, what they're passionate about, and what they love. And if you're doing that and trying to chase that every day and keeping that at the forefront of your mind, because it's easy to be distracted, really easy to be distracted. And so I think if you're constantly reminding yourself to live authentically and love and just live with a lot of passion and what brings you joy, then that's the purpose of your life.
And the next question is slightly different. It was, who's one person that you've lost that you carry with you? And then the follow on from that was, is there anybody else no longer with us that you'd wish that Billie had met? But the question now will be that last one. So who's, and there can be more than one, but is there any one or couple of people in particular that are no longer with us that you wish Billie had the chance to meet, and vice versa?
Yeah, for sure. So people close to me, like they died early when I was quite young, but like my dad's dad and my mum's dad, they never got to meet Billie, and I wish they did, because that would just be really cool. And also, even more recently, my dad's mum, you know what I mean? So like I would love for them to meet Billie, because that just would have been really beautiful. But I'm super grateful that I have one grandparent left, being my mum's mum.
Coolest lady ever.
Yeah,
Coolest
she's
almost
amazing.
94-year-old.
No, she is. She turned 94
Oh,
on the
she's
7th of
24.
December. Yeah, day before
Mad,
Marley's birthday. Yeah, yeah.
mad.
So on Saturday she turned 94. So,
Bro, she's the coolest lady.
yeah, she's amazing, and she's so wonderful, and she's got so much just joy to bring, and she's just incredible. And so I'm grateful that, she's got to meet Billie. She sees her every single Wednesday, when they come over for dinner and stuff, and it's just the best thing ever. So
She still has, obviously I've met her, a bunch of times, and the last time before we left, we got to spend most of the day, me and her, watching the UFC together. But
yeah,
do you know what's amazing? And I think this is part of the key for a long life, particularly a happy life, but a long life. She's so genuinely interested in other people, and as interesting as she is, because you don't get to 94 without being a bit interested. As interesting as your grandma is, she's so interested in other people, and it's not a superficial thing. Like, she genuinely wants to engage in understanding like what's happening with you, and even the little things, like what is that? And I think that interest is massive. I think keeping that kind of verve for life and interest in other people it's quite infectious to be around, because you chat to her and it's very genuine. It's very genuine. She has absolutely no personal agenda. She just loves to chat and be interested in other people. And I honestly think that's what keeps people alive for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I totally agree with you. And she is like, she cares about everyone. She wants to know what's going on in your life. And yeah, she's wonderful. And she just, she stayed active and still is active for a really long time. She keeps her brain really sharp. She reads like you wouldn't believe. She plays Wordle every day. She plays Scrabble 7 times a day on her phone against the computer. Like, she just lives such a
She's just
beautiful,
interested in being alive.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like, I messaged her the other day saying happy birthday, and she's amazing. Like, she literally wrote back, I said, happy birthday, you're incredible. We love you heaps. And she was just like, thanks so much. I don't feel any older. Like, it's just,
So good.
yeah, it's
good.
the best thing ever. So yeah, she's wonderful, and I'm grateful that she was here, to meet Billie, and she'll be around to, be in her life for a while more. But yeah, I definitely wish my 3 other grandparents got to meet her, and I didn't get to meet Kate's mum. But I wish so much that Kate's mum, was around today to get to spend time with Billie, because I just think, I don't know, that would have been so, so beautiful. And yeah, like, for that, like, Billie's middle name is Merelyn, and that's Kate's mum's name. And so, that's just how a little piece of, her lives on in Billie's life. And, we'll always talk about her because she's, literally like a part of Billie, you know what I mean? It's a middle name. And, we have little penguins all around the house because that was, one of Kate's mum's favorite animals. And so, her aunt, or Kate's auntie, or Kate's mum's sister, knitted like a little blanket that's got penguins in it. We've got like a little jelly cat that's a penguin. Then, Marley has the matching one, like, and so
Mate, goes everywhere. Goes everywhere.
Just little things like that. Like, there's penguins, all over the house. And so, yeah, that's definitely someone that I wish was still around today. And I wish I got to meet her as much as Billie did. You know what I mean? So, Yeah, but you remember those people, and you just, make sure you keep them alive and keep them in those people's lives.
And that must be huge for Kate.
Massive,
It,
enormous.
it's one thing. It's one thing keeping that person, her, and keeping a legacy of that person alive, and obviously, you know, giving Billie her name is an amazing way to do that. And it's kind of what we did with Marley with Dave, with
Yeah,
her name. But
absolutely.
I mean, for Kate, it must be, she just must miss her horrendously,
Oh, yeah,
particularly
yeah,
in times when you're, happy and sad times, of course, but even in happy moments where you just sort of, I don't know, maybe my view of it is that I just, somewhere, somehow, I just think they know. I think it's, I don't know what it is. I don't know what you call it. I don't know if it's just energy or what it is. I don't need to get into it, but mate, my granddad, I know he knows everything. I know he does. I feel it. And you just think, well, there is some solace in that, but it must be very difficult for her. You guys found each other. You've got this great relationship, and now you've got the fruit of that, which is this little girl. And just, just she must miss her a lot. That must be very tough. But how
yeah.
great that you guys keep it so present in her life. She's gonna grow up knowing probably just knowing all of the best bits of her grandma,
Mm.
because there's nothing bad to say, right? You
Yeah,
live
absolutely.
in happy memories, and she'll just grow
Yeah,
up knowing all these happy memories of her. But
definitely.
so with that, slightly more morbid question, but how would you like Billie to remember you way down the road?
Oh, I just want, like, similar to what we were saying before, like, I just want her to remember me as someone who loved her unconditionally, like, and just put no expectations on her. I just loved her wholeheartedly. I made her feel accepted. I just gave her opportunities. I made her feel like she could just achieve anything in life if she put her mind to it. I just I want her to remember me as someone that was fun and full of joy, that created memories with her, that was silly with her, that, sat through hard times with her, that did difficult things together. And, just that's what I want. I just want to be present and just engrossed in, this love and this bond. And yeah, I just think that's so special, and I want to do my best to create that environment for her, and hopefully she remembers me like that.
And my last question is to imagine a day when you're not around. And I thought about this, like, would it be a special day? Like, would it be, you know, and I guess for me with my heart, I think about it all the time. I think about, like,
Yeah.
you know, when she hits double digits at 10, when she gets to 16, when she gets to 18, 21, 30, these milestone moments, when she gets married, when she does this. I think about that for Marley, and then I have to stop thinking about it because I get too depressed. But
Yeah.
obviously, my hope is that my heart keeps going forever and ever and ever. But whatever, I think about it a lot. And so that's why I put this question in. Imagine in a day, and it doesn't have to be a specific day. It's more specific to what she needs, what Billie needs. So imagine in a
Yeah.
day when you aren't around, but she needs to hear you. Just as a final point on this little song line, what what would you want her to know? What would you want her to hear?
Oh, just that even if I'm not around, that I love her. Like, you know, just because I'm gone, it doesn't mean that my love ends for her. You know what I mean? No matter where I am, or if I'm not around and stuff like that, like, I'll always be looking down on her. I love her heaps, unconditionally, and she's capable and resilient because we've built that together. You know, hopefully over a long, long time, and she can just fall back on that and rely on that. I love her unconditionally and always will, no matter what. And she's special and unique, and just super beautiful and capable and resilient, and she can do anything, you know what I mean? No matter how tough it is, and I'll always be thinking of her.
Nice. And I did want to, particularly for this, aside from this is an additional just for Billie. Just I don't know why. I mean, it doesn't matter why, but I just feel like the very short story of her birth is like such a cool story. And I know it's probably better on another time or in another video or whatever, but I just want to grab it now, and hopefully this all works out this time. So if you can just run us through, because I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing to know what it meant to your mum or your dad or both when you came into the world. That moment for me, I just think, because it's still quite fresh for us, well, for me, like 3 years, but I still remember, and hopefully everyone does remember it vividly, but just tell us the story of Billie coming into the world and how happy a time that was.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, like, to wind it back a bit, Kate was obviously pregnant, heavily pregnant, and we were living in renting a unit at the time. And so the plan was to try and buy a house so that we could move in there before she was born. And that way, you know, set everything up, and it's kind of like, cool, like we're here and we don't have to move after she's come along and stuff like that. So we're fortunate enough to find a place, and we bought it, moved in. And so we'd been packing for a couple of days, moved all the boxes across, just got new carpet put in, and then the removalists came, moved all the big furniture in. The house was just a mess. Like, there was boxes everywhere. The furniture wasn't built because it had all just been moved across. And Kate and I were exhausted. So we just, we were like, oh, we'll go to bed. We'll unpack in the morning, because Billie wasn't due to be born for another 4 weeks. So we thought, a month up our sleeve. And so we went and got takeaway, had some dinner, went to bed. And then shortly after we'd gone to bed, a couple of hours later, Kate wakes me up in the middle of the night, and she's like, Jarryd, I think my waters have broken. And I was like, no, they haven't. This can't be happening.
You're dreaming.
Yeah. Like, a couple of hours in the new house, just exhausted, just hit the pillow, and it's all going on. And so I'm getting this like adrenaline dump. Kate's flipping the house upside down. I don't have anything in my pregnancy bag and hospital bag, whatever. And so, chaos at 2:30 a.m. in the middle of the night. And so anyway, we end up going to the hospital that night, the day that we'd moved in. And she was going into labor. Billie was in the breech position. So her head was up instead of down. And so we knew that because of that, it was likely she was going to need a cesarean, like a C-section, to be delivered. So the doctors, said, yeah, she's in the breech position. We need to do a cesarean. So, yeah, we took her upstairs and got everything prepped. And the doctors were really great. Everything was super chill. Like, it was exciting but nerve-wracking. And, Kate got wheeled in and got the spinal tap put in and laid her down. And then I went in and I was sitting up like in front of the curtain with Kate, and we're just holding hands. And the doctor just sort of said, I'm just letting you know, like, when babies are in the breech position, because they come out feet first and their head is last, like, they can tend to be pretty like disorientated. And so he was actually really funny. It was like, often like you pull them out and they don't know what's going on, and you just sort of hold them up in the air and like, surprise, it's your birthday. Like, they don't even realize that they're out in the world. And so he said, like, don't worry if you don't hear the baby cry for the first little bit, because they're just still like, don't even realize they're outside of the womb. So he was giving us a bit of a play-by-play, and he's like, oh, there's a foot, there's another foot, there's a bum, there's a hand. And then he goes, oh, they're at the neck, and then eventually goes, oh, she's out. And so we couldn't see any of this, but the doctor was, I guess, narrating it. And so he goes, oh, they're just taking her over to the table, to clean her up and stuff like that. And so I think, you get all these scans done, everything looks fine, but there's always this, I think for any parent, this anticipation, this anxiety. You just want your baby to be happy and healthy, and you're really not assured of that until they're out in the world. You know what I mean? Because giving birth is this complex thing, and so there's always this anxiety, and so Billy came out, and we couldn't hear anything, but we weren't necessarily panicked because the doctor had told us it'd be like that. And then they were cleaning her up, and Kate and I were just kind of squeezing our hands really, really tightly together. And then from the other side of the room, we just heard this, like, this little baby let out this big cry. And that sound is just, I'll remember it, for the rest of my life, because it was just the most beautiful sound that you've ever heard, because you know that your baby is earthside and in the world and happy and healthy, and they're here, you know what I mean? And you've had this 9-month wait, or 8.5-month wait, of just this anticipation, and they're finally here, and you can hear them, and you know that they're safe and healthy, and you just love them so much. And it was just so beautiful. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday, and I'll remember it forever. And I just remember like squeezing Kate's hand and looking at each other, and we just burst into tears, and just shared this really beautiful moment. And then like I went over and saw her for the first time, and like cut the cord, and they wrapped her up, and I just held her in my arms and looked at her for the first time, and then carried her over to Kate and showed her. And it was just, it's just so beautiful. Like, it's the best thing in the world.
Nice. Well, that's it. Nothing more to say. There you go, Billie. I really wanted to get that story on. I just think that's an awesome story. And I think for any child to know that's how you came into the world, and that's what, what your parents felt, I think that's a really special thing. I don't think we get to hear that. So,
it is super cool. Like, it's really, really special.
Nice. Well, that is almost an hour and a half.
That's pretty good.
It's very good. It's hopefully everything goes smooth, and this is Billie's maybe first, maybe only, hopefully not, little songline.
Yeah.
Cool. Done.